Hello everyone, this is Vivekanand. Um, I'm here to help you in your UPSC preparation. So we are going to start with the polity subject. Today we are going to discuss about the fundamental rights. Fundamental rights. So let me begin with the topic fundamental rights. So let's start. So what is the meaning of fundamental? Why they have been called as fundamental rights? There must be some significance to it, right? So I will give you two reasons. The fundamental rights are fundamental because these rights have been given by the fundamental law of the land. What is the fundamental law of the land? It is the constitution, right? The constitution. The constitution, which is the fundamental law of the land. Okay, this is one of the reasons why fundamental rights are described as fundamental. The second reason could be that the second reason is that the fundamental rights are very basic and necessary things which are required for the overall development of the citizens of the country. For the overall development in the sense all dimensions of the development of the citizens. All dimensions could be covered in the sense of the material development, the moral development, the spiritual development, and the intellectual development. Got it? So all these dimensions of the developments will be covered under the overall developments of the citizens. Got it? These are the two reasons why fundamental rights have been described as fundamental. Okay, the first reason is the charter has been given by the constitution, which is the fundamental law of the land. This is one reason. The second reason is fundamental rights are very basic things which will help in the overall development of the citizens. Okay, some of the beginning points. Okay, so you must know why they are fundamental. Then these fundamental rights, this has been added into the constitution in the part 3 of our constitution. And one more point, fundamental rights have been described as the Magna Carta of India. So this is very important term, Magna Carta. Okay, very important term. You should know why it is Magna Carta. First of all, what is Magna Carta? Magna Carta is nothing but it is a written document. It is a written document given by the King John in 1215 in England. Okay, it's a written document given by King John in 1215 in England. What that written document was about? The written document was the first time. It is a charter of rights first time given to the citizens by any government. That time government was monarchy. That monarchy government first time gave some of the rights to the citizens. Earlier there was no such charter of rights given by any of the kings in anywhere around the world. So first time the charter of rights have been given by King John in 1215 in England. So that is why that was the Magna Carta. Similarly, fundamental rights can be analogous to those rights, right? These are also set of rights given by the constitution. Here these rights are given by the constitution. There those rights were granted by King John. Here, given by the Constitution. Same thing. That is why fundamental rights in India are called Magna Carta of India, because these are also basic fundamental rights, basic human rights. Okay. So let us discuss with some of the basic features of the Constitution. Now this is the introduction about the fundamental. Here we have already covered why they are called fundamental rights, and some of the features like it is called as Magna Carta of India, and they have been covered in part 3 of the Constitution. Let us go on further by describing about the basic features of the Constitution. Features of the fundamental rights. Features of the fundamental rights. I'm sorry. So some of the factual things you can just memorize. You can just memorize. That can be easily understood. We will not discuss more about it. Even for the beginners, it does not take more time. First point is fundamental rights are available to both citizens, and some of the fundamental rights are also available to non-citizens. For example, Article 14. This article is not only available to the citizens of the country, but this article is applicable also to the non-citizens who are not the citizens of the country. Even they can enjoy the rights. Got it? Some fundamental rights are only applicable to citizens. Some fundamental rights can be applicable to the citizens and also to the non-citizens. But note the point that for the non-citizens, most of the fundamental rights are not applicable. But some fundamental rights can be enjoyed by non-citizens also. In the due course of our discussion, we will come to know which of the fundamental rights are applicable to non-citizens also. So one of the examples I have given is Article 14. Just remember it. Don't break your head. So second feature of the fundamental rights is fundamental rights are not absolute. They are not absolute. And this word carries much significance. You have to describe in sentences about it. Okay, we'll discuss. They are not absolute, but instead what they're qualified. These two terms you must remember. Okay, fundamental rights are not absolute, but they're qualified. So let us discuss why they're not absolute. If the fundamental right would have been absolute, what that would mean? That would mean that you would enjoy the rights in full flexible manner. I mean, if the fundamental rights would have been flexible, would have been absolute, you could have been enjoying it in any extent. There would be no restriction. You can do anything. You can violate the sovereignty of the country. You can create disorder. You can create violence. You can do anything if fundamental rights would have been absolute. Because they are not absolute, some restrictions have been imposed by the Constitution, and the Constitution has given some powers to the state, that is the government, to impose some restrictions on the excesses of the fundamental rights of the citizens. Let's make it simple. Citizens have been conferred with fundamental rights. So many fundamentals they will read. Okay, some rights have been given by the Constitution to the citizens. Okay, from the Constitution, rights have been conferred on the citizens. Okay, now citizens cannot enjoy it in full flexible manner. There are some restrictions. Not full restriction, but there are some restrictions imposed on the rights enjoyed by the citizens. Okay, because there are some restrictions, they are not absolute. Got it? They are not absolute because there are some restrictions. The citizens cannot enjoy these rights in full flexible manner. There are some restrictions to create some order in the excesses of the rights. Okay, got it? They are not absolute because there are some restrictions imposed by the Constitution, and also Constitution gave power to the state, that is to the government, to impose some restrictions, some reasonable restrictions. One more word I have introduced you, reasonable. The restrictions imposed by the state should be reasonable one. Okay, it doesn't mean that because if this word would not have been given, the government, the state could have taken away all the rights from the citizens, right? To do away with such arbitrary powers, constitution has given that the restrictions should be reasonable one. Now who shall decide whether the restrictions imposed by the states are reasonable or not? Such powers have been given to the courts. Got it? The courts will decide whether the restrictions imposed by the states are reasonable or not. Got it? Firstly, let me revise. Fundamental rights are not observed because reasonable restrictions can be imposed on the rights exercised by the citizens. Whether the rights are reasonable or not, who will decide? The court will decide. In the court, Supreme Court is the ultimate guarantor of the fundamental rights. Okay, we'll discuss in detail. And because there are some restrictions on the exercise enjoyed by citizens, they are qualified one. They are not absolute one. Got it? Fundamental rights are not absolute, but they are qualified because of the reasons I have already discussed. Let me continue in the next session.